it's time now for me to tell you what's happening around the world. Now, the question over how a woman is defined in law came to the UK's biggest court on Wednesday. The Supreme Court judges unanimously ruled that only biological and not trans women meet the legal definition of a woman under equality laws. It's a landmark decision greeted with concern by trans supporters, but welcomed by the government as bringing clarity. The much anticipated ruling puts an end to a long-running battle between the Scottish government and women's rights campaigners, which centred on whether a trans woman with a gender recognition certificate, a formal document giving legal recognition of someone's new gender, is protected from discrimination as a woman under Britain's Equality Act. The decision confirms that single-sex services for women, such as refuges, hospital wards and sports, can exclude trans women, clearing up legal ambiguity. Now, transgender campaigners said the decision could lead to discrimination, especially over employment issues. To Germany now, and prosecutors have charged a Berlin palliative care doctor with the murder of 15 patients, alleging that he acted out of a lust for killing. The 40-year-old suspect is accused of killing 12 women and 3 men between September 2021 and July 2024 using a deadly cocktail of sedatives. German press reports identified the suspect as Johannes M., but prosecutors have not released a name. The doctor allegedly administered an anesthetic and a muscle relaxant to his patients without their knowledge or consent. The patients were between 25 and 94 years old. And on 5 occasions, prosecutors allege the suspect set fire to their apartments to cover up these killings. And finally, France has recalled its ambassador to Algeria and ordered 12 Algerian diplomats leave Paris as a diplomatic row continues to escalate. Algeria earlier this week expelled 12 French officials after one of its consular staff was arrested over the kidnapping of a government critic living in Paris. President Emmanuel Macron's office called the move unjustified and incomprehensible. However, relations between the two countries have been on the slide for months. Observers have also described the crisis as unprecedented since Algeria secured independence from France in 1962. Now, they did sour these relations last year when Macron announced France was recognizing Moroccan sovereignty of Western Sahara and backed a plan for limited autonomy for the disputed territory. Now, Algeria backs the pro-independence Polisario Front in Western Sahara and is seen as its main ally.
Good, a couple of things. I'm really, really happy about that judgment in the UK. And the truth has to be said. I'm a huge African conservative. I have some liberal views. But when you go excessively on the woke lane, it scares me for the world. When they started the debate on who is a woman, I've always told people a woman is the sex at birth. This idea of the fact that transgender now is trying to get rights of women is just going to make the whole world a crazy place to be. And this has been a running issue. And we should not do this to ourselves. This over-wokeism in a world where people on the African continent cannot even afford 1 square meal a day. A woman is the sex she has at conception, and it has to be reiterated. And I'm happy that the highest law in the land has said that. We should not stretch this any further. We should not make this world uninhabitable for children to live in. It has to be reiterated. Secondly, as regards the incident in Algeria, between Algeria and France, what has happened over the years, there's been a dispute about the Western Sahara. It used to be occupied by Spain. The Polisario Front had militias, they fought Spain. 71, Spain said we were leaving. United Nations deal, they said, okay, we'll share it. We'll hand it over to Mauritania, a larger portion to Morocco, a larger portion to Mauritania. But the Polisario Front kept on fighting. So because of the fight, Mauritania said, oh, we can't deal with this. So they hand everything over to Morocco. Morocco holding on to it, but the Polisario Front said we want self-determination. There was a consensus in 1991 that went on for a while. But Morocco does not want to leave that place alone because there are minerals there. phosphate, fisheries, there's even possibility of oil there. In all of this fight, Algeria backs the Polisario Front. Like you said there, France has just recognized Morocco's rights to this. And I think the AU too does recognize, the rights of self-determination of, the Polisario Front out here. But to a large extent, every people, especially people that have been fighting for a while, have a right of determination. In fact, there's been many solutions put forward before now. Oh, Morocco take a certain fraction, give the Polisario Front a certain fraction. No, they'll say no. Polisario Front says no, because Morocco will take the fraction where they are prospecting for oil and phosphate and other minerals there. So there's always a squabble back and forth.
Yes.
And this has led to ambassadors living each other, different, both countries.
Both sides, yes.
But don't also forget that France fought a bloody war of independence with Algeria. So that is still on. France has tried to make amends over the years. The Algerians will never forget this. And then this squabble is also there. For the German doctor, I think it should get to a point where we should actually have peer review for doctors. Maybe hospitals should start it. If you have a doctor that is treating you and everything, maybe at the end of every week, you should be allowed to see another doctor that reviews all the procedures.
Yeah.
Maybe that will stop it. But we've had,
sense.
Aaron, that doctor should also probably have psychological issues.
I know we want to spend more time on the wonderful news of our Nigerians doing great on the global scene. So I'll just touch very quickly, of course, on this landmark ruling concerning the legal definition of what it means to be a woman in the United Kingdom. Of course, this originates from 2018, from when Scotland created the Equality Act, which said that 50% of representation in public bodies should be women, and this included transgender women, which just begs the question, really. It almost defeats the purpose, because if you're saying that we're backing affirmative action for women, we're trying to push for gender equality, we're trying to, we're always talking about shattering the glass ceiling for women, and then women still have to compete with men, with other women who with other men who have, evolved to become women, to live as women, who are biologically constituted as men. It's unfair. By whether you believe in this extreme gender ideology, whether you don't believe in it's. In black and white, it's not fair. You look at it in sport, where it has, received the most criticism and the most controversy. And you cannot expect a man who has transitioned to become a trans woman to be allowed to compete on a level playing field with a woman. Science says no. So for this, I'm glad that we're sticking to the fact that science is truth. Science is based on fact. It's not an opinion. It's not a subjective. It's not a social subject. Science is science. So I'm glad for this.
Thank you, Vimbai. Thank you, Rufai. Well, it is also that time of year when Time magazine has released its 100 most influential people. And this is the list for 2025. Now, the magazine's selections celebrate individuals who are shaping the future through innovation, leadership, and cultural relevance, including, figures across politics, science, the arts, and activism. Now, this year's edition features notable Nigerian and African powerhouses. Let's take a look. Well, leading the pack is media entrepreneur and CEO of Ebony Life Media, Mo Abudu, who is recognized for her dedication to African storytelling and her contribution to the international media landscape. And then there's also Nigerian-American chef Kwame Onwachi, who has been described by Kiki Palmer via Time magazine as the embodiment of brilliance, passion, and perseverance. He's a chef whose heart, soul, and creativity shines through every dish he serves. Can't wait to try some of his food. And described as a force of nature, Nigerian researcher, scientist, and expert in infectious diseases, Christian Happy has also been named among Time magazine's top 100 most influential. Now, his force led to the creation of the African Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases, which educates future generations of African scientists and was instrumental in Nigeria's response to COVID-19, to Mpox, and Ebola, training thousands of frontline scientists from across Africa and creating a world-class genome center in rural Nigeria. Now, if we widen this out to Africans now, among the Africans on the list this year are Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who is the first African Director General of the World Health Organization, Duma Boko, who is the President of Botswana, and Angeline Murimirwa, who is the CEO of CAMFED, which has supported millions of girls across Africa in accessing education. A huge congratulations to all of the Africans and to all of the Nigerians on the list. Inspirational stuff, definitely.
Very inspirational stuff. Congrats to Mo. Goodness me, when you see the great work. But one I want to talk about, and I also want to use to pay tribute to Herbert Wigwe today, is Professor Christian Happy. I mean, in the thick of coronavirus, COVID-19, we saw heroes stand up. I mean, lots of Professor Happy made science lovely again. Can I use the word made science sexy again? Because that pursuit of science and intellectual pursuit in our society is fast dying away. But the true heroes became bioscientists, genome sequencing, practitioners and the likes. And Herbert Wigwe of blessed memory was part of also those that facilitated with the work that he did at Kakovi to ensure that we have this center out there. Professor Happy was of the Redeemers University in Ededen, and they've done a lot. And look at Tedros Ghebreyesus, allowing common sense prevail, even at a time where people were saying, it's the Chinese virus and all of that. No, he didn't listen to all of that, and he did his very best, just like many doctors also did then, putting their firm foot on the ground, the likes of Dr. Fauci of this world, and, the new leader of Botswana, a lot rests on him. And the Nigerian chef, goodness me, maybe we should try his lovely cuisine. Yeah.
Of course, I have to begin with Mo Abudu, Auntie Mo Abudu, as she's more fondly known as in the industry. For those of us who have worked under her, who have experienced her greatness, her discipline, work acumen, her work rate is something else. I mean, she looks incredible at 60. We'll put a lot of us 30-something-year-olds to shame. But I mean, let's talk about her evolution, moving from corporate to becoming a talk show host. The tenacity is why I want to focus on her as a talk show host, because in those days when she used to produce her own program, Moments with Mo, sometimes her content used to be rejected by the broadcaster because they'd say it's not good enough, it doesn't meet the standard, and so forth. She'd go back, do it again, resubmit it. So just the tenacity of that type of woman, until she got to the stage where she just said, you know what, actually, I can have my own TV station. And that's how she became the first African woman to have her own television network, Ebony Life, that has now grown into an entire media empire that also educates, trains, creates world-class productions for your Netflixes and so forth. She has her own cinema chain, which is now opening offices in an outlet, not an office, an outlet in the United Kingdom as well, in London. So spreading her tentacles. And what I love most about Auntie Mo Abudu is that she's always ready to pay it forward, always ready to open a door of opportunity to the next young lady, give them an opportunity to shine as well. So huge congratulations, well deserved. Also, Angeline Murimirwa, who's Zimbabwean, who's championing female education, especially for young girls. Duma Boko, who's the opposition leader who rose to become Botswana's current president in a country that had never seen an opposition party win an election before. And he's also a Harvard-educated lawyer. So young leaders coming to the African, to the fore of African affairs. Congratulations to them all. Very well deserved.
Congratulations. Well, let's move on now to the rest of our newspaper headlines. And as ever, we begin with the front page of This Day. Now, This Day reports that the former minority of the House of Representatives, the former minority leader of the House of Representatives, Farouk Aliyu, who he's accused of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir Rufai of being self-centered in his recent criticism of President Tinubu. We've discussed that. Meanwhile, we do know that rumors continue to swirl of CPC members defecting from the APC. That being said, 21 chiefs remain loyal to the president. And as we've just discussed, we do see, of course, Mo Abudu, Kwame Onwuachi among the Nigerians named in the Time magazine 100 most influential people. We do have a report that goes into more of the list, but we are pressed for time. Moving on to the Daily Telegraph, though, it does lead with Adebayo Adelabo, who's the Minister of Power. He's blaming poor development in the power sector on past administrations, stating that past efforts to transform the sector did not amount to anything. And he said so while hosting the World Bank delegation in his office in Abuja. He also insisted that there's been a long neglect of power infrastructure in the country, which has contributed to the present problems befalling the sector. Now, The Guardian leads with President Tinubu's push for a fresh census as he inaugurates a national census committee in the wake of insecurity and economic concerns. At the last count in 2006, Nigeria's population was 140 million, and it's estimated that that number has grown to be 236.5 million currently, representing a growth rate of about 2.5% and a literacy rate of 62%. Now, the Daily Independent has panic from telcos on their front page as satellite communications firms Starlink has been enabled for phone calls from any part of the world. Now, consumers who are already unhappy with the tariff hike from telco may well turn away from these network providers and look towards Starlink, which is causing the ruffled feathers, according to the Daily Independent. And looking ahead to the 2027 elections with the Daily Sun, it does feature comments from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying that he's keeping his options open and will ride on any good governance vehicle. So, he hasn't said that he's not planning to run. Also hasn't said that he is. We'll keep our eyes open. Meanwhile, on the front page of the Daily Trust,
the federal statement.
I mean, what can we say? The Daily Trust has the federal government making a peace move, as we've already discussed at the beginning of the show, to neighboring Niger, as Nigeria's Foreign Minister Yusuf Tuga leads a delegation to Niamey. Relations between Nigeria and Niger have been strained since the latter's July 2023 coup.
Femi, we're going to make a quick insert. We claim it anyway, but Professor Happy was born in Sangalema, Cameroon. He graduated from University of Yaoundé, Cameroon, 1993. But, he's
Calling
been
him
here.
a Nigerian nevertheless.
He's obtained his PhD from University of Ibadan, in 2000. So he's ours.
He's ours. All right, thank you so much, and